Hi and hello, everybody. My name is Mindaugas. I'm the lawyer, attorney lawyer at the TGS Baltic in Lithuania. And today we have a webinar, super duper seminar on these cybersecurity issues. And today we will have perfect 1 hour and 10 minutes, which we'll spend together on the topics of cybersecurity risk assessments, and cybersecurity risk insurance. Myself, I will try to make a short introduction on what this topic is basically about, and I will give a very short introduction on that. Further on, I will pass the floor to my colleague Arina from Latvia. Hi, Arina. And she will introduce and she will provide a short overview of the speakers as well as of the further logistics of the program. And just a quick recap, we'll have 20 minutes Q&A session at the end of the seminar or webinar, right? So please enjoy your speakers, basically. Please enjoy the time and please have a comfortable position before you start watching what we are to show to you. Okay, let's start from the very basics, and I will try to show a couple of slides which try to explain the problematics of the cybersecurity. So cybersecurity as such is not a technology issue, is not a IT issue, and it's not that much. First of all, it's not that much about technology. It's a cultural thing. It's a cultural, human, and social thing at the cornerstone. Therefore, it is so difficult for the cybersecurity to be promoted. It's very difficult for the cybersecurity issues and matters to be brought to the boardrooms. It's very difficult for this matter to be, sold for the board members, for the management, for the highest levels of administration in the company, just because of the reason that it is, first of all, the culture. It's not technology. And there are many myths, many legends, and many biases and prejudices about this topic, which is basically key reason why it's so difficult for the cybersecurity culture to happen in, first of all, small and medium-sized companies. And there are a number of the myths, a number of the legends, but I will just share some of them with you, which are shown just in front of you. First of all, and in very frequent cases, you hear that, well, look, this is the IT issue, this is technology issue, and basically we are solving it. We have IT guy, we have IT department, and basically this is all done. It's very good delegation. We do have people responsible for that, so we don't have any problems. And if we have, these are IT problems. The second prejudice is that, look, we are too small actually to fail. We're that small. We are not interested in this at the moment because we think we're not interesting to anyone. We do have very small data operations. We do have a few information systems only. We have manufacturers or retailers. That's why it's not on the top list. This is not a priority issue we are solving right now. The third prejudice you'll hear from time to time is that, look, it's complex. It's a bit expensive. It's a bit unclear where to start. And I mean, we understand that this is important, but maybe not today. Maybe somewhere later on, maybe some next year, for example. What about next year? So, and the reason why so many prejudices are lying, and the reason why so many obstacles we have when trying to pursue it and to convince basically the management why cybersecurity is a top issue. There are a number of reasons behind these obstacles. First of all, there is shifting sands, or the dynamic nature of the whole environment. If you look into the map of possible threats, everyone understands that the threats are constantly moving. It's always a moving target. And therefore, for any layman, not IT professional, to understand this dynamics and to understand this changing atmosphere is a bit of a hurdle. It's a bit of the burden, and the very natural reaction to this is that, look, it's too complex, and maybe leave it to specialists. Maybe leave it to IT guys. I'm not an IT guy myself, therefore I think I don't understand anything about that. Therefore, I as a CEO, me as a CEO, me as a board member, I don't want to spend many more hours or any more of my attention to this topic. Let's have it dealt with by professionals, IT professionals. The second reason is human nature. Human nature is stupid when it comes to cybersecurity, and you can't rely on humans as far as cybersecurity is concerned. Of course, humans are a very important part in the most important and crucial part in any organization. However, you can't build and construct your cybersecurity fundamentals on the behavior of humans, because humans they do make mistakes. They always do make mistakes. Of course, maybe not all of us, but humans in principle do have. They're not efficient. They by nature they do have a lot of prejudices, and even if they don't do a mistake, or even if they don't push the button in the first instance, it's the question of time when they will make a mistake. It's not whether they will make the mistake, it's the question of when the humans will make the mistake. That's why, this is, by the way, the slide which exactly shows the nature of the human being. Humans are really more or less ignorant about protecting the information, about protecting the valuable privacy. And for example, this is the example of the social media advertising campaign, which has been enrolled in Stockholm, Sweden, back in 2020, and it was trying to, expand and attract society's attention to the high ignorance of society towards cybersecurity and privacy issues. And they have tried to show what kind of, for example, passwords users normally use for their accounts, for the protection of their private information, for the protection of their robust services. And this is the shit. Actually, password is the top 5 password which was used in Sweden a number of years ago. And after this after this campaign, there was some kind of public discussion and escalation. And after this, you know what? People have changed the password into shit 1, 2, 3, 4, which means that even knowing that this is a problem, even being taught and trained that this is a problem, people are not that eager to change their behavior unless something really bad happens. So reason number 2 is human being's nature. Reason number 3, there are too many moving targets and too many stakeholders in this ecosystem. And cybersecurity is not only about you as an organization and your clients. It's also about you and your employees. It's also about you and regulators. It's also about you and investors. Most importantly, it's also about you and the vendors, counterparties you have. Everyone is more or less related in nowadays global world, and therefore, when dealing with this problem, you need to have a much broader picture, which is very difficult actually to have. Reason number four is exactly the organizational structure and the attitude of the management to this. And I mentioned in the very beginning that most of the management, or in very frequent cases, the management thinks that this is the IT department issue. And it brings to the problem that for the IT department, it's more and more difficult to bring up this question up to the board and to capture the attention of the board. And for this strategy decision to invest in the cybersecurity to happen, this only may happen in the company if the management, if the CEO, if the top level understands that this is important. And this is the cultural decision, because every company has only 2 choices, the strategic choices, either to invest in medicines or to invest in health, immunity. This is the same as the same parallel as we human beings. We do have 2 choices only, either to invest in medicines at some later point in time and don't, invest in healthy well-being, or to start live a healthy life as of today. And both strategies are viable. Both strategies have their strengths and weaknesses. However, these strategies need to be resolved and decided at the management level. And we, as management, actually are able to make this decision. It's not that the coincidence. We don't invest in cybersecurity because it's too early. We don't invest because it's too complex. We don't invest because it's too costly. No, you need to understand that this is the long-term strategy, and actually your organizational liveliness and viability depends on that. Even if it sounds demagogic, but this is true. And therefore, the early management understand that this is the decision, the better for the whole organization. And reason number 5 why it happened so so uneasy. How much does it cost? It's always the question at the boardroom. Even if you have the question of the cybersecurity with the management, it's always the question: how much should we invest? How do we need? I mean, how do we calculate the costs? And again, there are many methodologies which already now answer this question. And actually, this question is answerable. Actually, it's easy. No, it's not easy, but it's answerable. You can't, calculate the costs which you will prevent of incurring in the future. That's why it's the future costs which you avoid, plus the controllability. If you don't invest in cybersecurity now, then you don't have controllability over the consequences. And this is reason number 7. Companies normally don't anticipate bad consequences. The first and the only consequence they think of is, well, maybe a fine. We'll receive some fine from the DPA, Data Protection Authority. What else? Maybe some claims, but well, there are no. So, litigation strategy and countries like Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, they are not litigant countries. It's not likely. It's unlikely that you will receive claim. Okay. So basically, the problem is that management is only rarely realizing the magnitude of possible consequences, the magnitude to the cyber incident or the lack of cybersecurity will have on the, for example, personnel, on the health of the organization itself, on the clients, on the reputation, and even on the creditors. So this is almost often overlooked type of the consequences, which normally are not discussed at the moment. Okay, so I think these are more or less the most important insights I do have before passing the floor to Arina, and she will give a few words about our splendid speakers of today's webinar, which of course we're very glad to have. So Arina, the floor is yours.
Hi everyone, and thank you, Mindaugas, for your introduction. My name is Arina Stivriņa, and I'm co-head of Data Protection and Technology Practice Group at DGS Latvia office. Just to add to Mindaugas' introduction, I think a big portion of our work and private lives are lived in the cyberspace nowadays. And we should strive to make the same safety precautions as we do in our physical lives. For example, as we use a decent lock or even have the security guard on call for our houses or apartments, we should do the same for our cyber identities and our workspace in cyberspace. Before I introduce our great speakers, we'll have a Q&A session at the end of the event. So please ask questions in the Zoom TV chat, and our speakers will address them after both presentations. So today we'll have 2 amazing speakers. First, I would like to introduce Helen Evert. Hi, Helen. Thank you for being here with us today. Helen is a financial lines specialist at Easy, Kindlustusmakler, and she has been working in insurance industry since 2006, and the last 10 years working for Easy, the Greco Group company in Estonia. Helen helps clients to find solutions for cyber and technology insurance, which is very relevant for our topic today. Helen will speak today on a hot topic of cyber insurance, and she will explain how to financially protect your business after an incident or a data breach. She will also explain what is trending and how to purchase the proper insurance to cover the cyber incident or data breach. Helen's presentation will be in the second part of our webinar. And as our first speaker today, I would like to introduce Jonas Schwade. Hi, Jonas, and great having you today. Jonas is product manager for Cysmo, and he is working at PPI since 2016, and ever since is part of software as a service team Cysmo. Jonas has a tremendous experience as a speaker at numerous events regarding cyber insurance and technical solutions. Jonas will explain how attackers are looking for vulnerabilities at companies' infrastructures and how, with the help of Cysmo, these vulnerabilities are made visible. So, Jonas, the floor is yours.
Yeah, Arina, thank you so much for that kind introduction. And I will directly head into the presentation I've prepared for today. So let me just take a look that I can present it. Where is it? Can I share my screen? Oh, there we go. Sorry for the delay. You should be able to see the presentation now, and perfect. So I will talk to you about the attacker's view from the outside on a company. Yeah, I can skip the introduction slide because of the great introduction from Arina. Thanks again for that. We as a company, maybe to give you some insights, are a consulting firm based in Germany, and we are developing software products like Cysmo, an outside-in scanning tool, and we provide the insurance company with our tool and the broking market as well to help to make the cyber risk visible and to help to support the clients. And if we just think about an attacker, he's looking at a company from the outside. You can imagine it like a burglary, walking down the street, looking left and right, which house he wants to break in. And he's looking for maybe open doors. He's looking for maybe dark places where no camera is in place. There is no alarm system. Maybe there is even a window open. And it's the same in the cybersecurity space, where an attacker just takes a look from the outside without being noticed and is looking for vulnerable spots where he can enter a company and try to get access. And I brought you a picture here on the right-hand side. You can see our blue company in the middle. It is built on an infrastructure. And this infrastructure has to be really, really stable. So there won't be a breakdown. There won't be a business interruption. And there are several technical sweet spots for attackers to try to get access to the company. And we will take a closer look into that just in a second. So I just brought you a slight statistic approach we performed in the beginning of in preparation of this event today, where we just take a look at just some small, medium enterprise companies, just really randomized, put together around 6,000 companies. And we just took a look how many of these companies are still using outdated software, which can be seen from the outside. And when I'm talking about from the outside, I mean without even being noticed that we do get this knowledge. And we can see on the left-hand side that there are 10% of the companies we took a look at. So from 6,000, it's around 600 companies who are at the moment using outdated software. What does that mean? The software developers, the companies where you get the software from, they're putting so-called end-of-life dates on their software so that they will support you with updates, with security updates and patches for a certain time frame. And after that, they kindly ask you to move on to a more up-to-date version. So you can, for example, imagine the Windows 95. Some of you maybe used back in the days. You won't get any updates for that anymore because there are newer Microsoft Windows versions on the market. And it's the same with all the software you will use in your company. And we took a look on that on the one hand side, and we took another look at already exploited systems. So where there is already a vulnerability which is being exposed or which could be exposed by attackers. And we see from this 6,000 companies, 7% of them having software or IT systems which have been already used in some kind of malicious activities. So this don't have to mean that they've got already attacked. This could also mean that the attacker just got access to some parts of the infrastructure and up to today haven't really making any noises. It's just sleeping and waiting for its chance to attack the company. And combined in that, we see that more than 14% of these companies we just randomly took a look at had at least one vulnerable spot in that regard. So to give you a better understanding when I'm talking about the outside look, what that really means. We like to use a lot of metaphors and to picture things because IT security space is really complex and it can easily be very hard to follow. So I try to give you some examples to show you how easy it is for an attacker to gain valuable information about a company like yourself. You will probably know the so-called targeted vulnerability scans, also called penetration tests, where you ask someone to perform an attack on your company on purpose, just to see if there are some vulnerabilities. You can compare that to the police, which you are calling and asking, can you try to break into my house and tell me later where you break in? And this you absolutely need the consents to perform. And this is something where the company will get notice when there is such an attack or a test being performed. But you also all know that there is a service called Google Maps, which takes pictures of the environment. They are having these cars with their cameras on the roof, and they are just driving around the streets, making pictures and publishing these pictures to the public. And this is what we metaphorize with so-called open source intelligence data. So this is data everyone has access to. This is data which has been published to the publicity, and everyone can take a look at it. So you don't need a consent to use Google Maps if you're taking a look at a certain street. What you will notice is that there are no personal rights being abused. So if there is a person, then the face would be blurred and stuff like that. So to make sure that there is no privacy regulation being abused. And we, with our tool, even go one step more further, and we call it the passive information gathering. And you can illustrate that. Just imagine we are just using the Google Maps pictures to find potential vulnerabilities. So we are just taking a look at the Google Map pictures. We don't perform any kind of active scanning. So this is when I talk about looking from the outside, this is what an attacker can do. And like I said, if I would take a look at a street now in Google Maps, this house owner on the street wouldn't notice that I'm accessing these pictures. And just to give you an understanding on how easy it is for attacking or attackers to gain information. And what we did is we created a software where we automized this. So because you can imagine if you take a look on the Google Map pictures, that could take some time to find the right spot, to interpret the results in the right way. What we did when we created our tool is that we put an automation on that. So actually, when using our tool, you can just input the website address. It's kind of the street address of the company, so the domain. And in less than 2 minutes, and on an average scan, you will get a full report on several potential vulnerabilities and several potential IT infrastructure characteristics. And this is an independent view because we are just trying to give you an idea on how the attackers will take a look at your company, and we will help you in visualization of this cyber risk, so you can understand where are the vulnerabilities. And of course, our main goal together with our partners like Easy is to prevent you of being a victim to a cyber attack. And for that, I brought you 2 examples where we could prevent worse in the past when we were offering our tool. One, you probably all know about the Microsoft Exchange vulnerability, which occurred around 1 year and a half back, where we had a client from an insurance company who did all the updates which have been published by Microsoft after the vulnerability was published. And he also runs Microsoft detection tools because you can imagine there was a vulnerability, and on that point where it was published, there was no update available. So Microsoft had to deliver an update for the clients, and they did. And after that, they offered a tool where you can detect if a company or attacker has already misused your services. And the client, he did all that, and no abnormalities were noticed. But our insurance client or insurance company, he did a monitoring scan. So he performed like regular scans on the portfolio. And then 1 month later, he noticed a backdoor which has been installed on the systems of this client. So the attackers were already trying to disguise the backdoors so it can't be identified anymore. Why did that happen? It's because the Microsoft detection tools in the first place weren't able to see all the installed backdoors, and they had like enumerational steps of getting better. And so the client, from his perspective, he performed the scan once, and after that he said, okay, I can make a check mark behind that topic. And this stresses the importance of regular scans, because the alarm system on the insurer side went off, and he could contact the customer and tell him, we noticed some abnormalities, please check. And with the help of the information, the system could be reset, and the case of claim was prevented because the attacker could be stopped before he actually attacked the company. And another situation where we had darknet findings, where data from the company was stolen without the company being noticed about it, and it was published on the darknet, and the company hasn't been aware of it, and the credentials, the customer data was misused, and they find out because again, one of the insurance companies did a scan of the company and saw that there has been a leak published, and with the help of this report, the open data leak could be located and could be closed, and also the legal department could be informed about it, so that there was no fine being set up from the legal department for losing these kind of customer information, because it was in a okay time frame where the reaction happened from the client. And they said afterwards that they probably wouldn't have noticed until it was even too late to kind of react. And for the closing of my presentation, I would like to perform a live rating. I did some Google research to look for a company some of you might know. And before that, I just want to give you a hint that you can, if you want to a rating from your company afterwards, you can contact Helen or the Easy team for requesting that. And I will stop showing you my presentation, and I will show you now my browser, and then I will show you how the rating would look like and how fast it actually can show you results. So hang on a second, I'm just logging into the software. Okay, the German So you should see now an empty portfolio, and in my browser, and like I said, did some research. I'm not sure if it's a known company, but Wikipedia told me that it's a really big construction company in Latvia. So I choose this one as an example where we just take the domain from the company. It's publicity information. We pass it in and we start a rating. And yeah, now we just wait and we will see how fast or how long it will take to get a report about possible vulnerabilities. And then we will take a look on the results and see if there are some, maybe some findings which can be optimized for that company. And in general, we try to offer this service, like I said, for the insurance companies and the brokers, because we do see that these are or should be a trustful organization on your side, which should provide you with such services to help you preventing from getting attacked. Because I think for you as a company and also for the insurance company, it's the best situation to not even get attacked in the first place. So yeah, I hope it won't take too long. I think it should be finished within any minute now. And I hope I put in the right domain. And yeah. So you can see the rating is being calculated, and it is live being calculated without the company noticing it. And we had this in the past, maybe just another example before this finished, where companies said, okay, you can tell us everything about your, there it goes. And we do see there is a critical finding in this company, and we can now open the rating, and we do see we have several kind of partial ratings with all kind of technical information. I won't show you all of that. We don't have time for that, unfortunately. But I want to show you the red critical point, and it's in the application management, which is the score where we're looking for outdated software. And if we take a look at the full table, we do see two critical findings. One is on a WordPress version, which hasn't been updated, or there are no updates since early March this year. And WordPress is one of the most used vulnerabilities for attacking companies. And even worse, we see Microsoft Windows Server 2003, which hasn't got updates since 2009. So there are like over 13 years, there is a server running which haven't got any updates. And it's just a matter of time till an attacker will see this system and will attack it. So yeah, I will leave you with this impression in my presentation. There are a lot more of details, and I'm looking forward to your questions after Helen's presentation. Thank you.
Yes, I guess it's my turn now to speak about cyber insurance. So you saw like a live presentation how attackers see you and what you should do to basically clean out a room or prepare it for probable burglar or incident. So cyber insurance in general, this is not to like mitigate your risk in this way that it can prevent any attackers to get into your systems, but this is actually meant to protect your balance sheet, because this is all about mitigating risk after you have been attacked. And well, let's start what cyber insurance is, because this is often like overlooked insurance, because companies in Baltics especially are used to buying property insurance, liability insurance, and even if they say that data and the information systems are the most important assets they have, they still don't buy cyber insurance so much at the current state. Of course, one of the reasons is that local insurance companies often don't provide proper coverage, and companies don't know about this kind of solutions. For us, it's the same. We have to buy a proper solution for our clients from foreign insurance companies. But I think as far as we have seen, it's no problem for a client. Because usually like big insurance companies behind the solution or Lloyd's markets. Cyber insurance is insurance policy which provides combination of coverage. This is not purely only about the data as it is, or purely about like liability, but it includes several things. And the goal is that your balance sheet should be protected after data breaches or cyber security incidents. This covers also like criminal and very often non-criminal incidents. What does it contain? First of all, this is about crisis management costs. Because if you have some kind of incident or data breach, usually you need help at once. Like this is like calling to emergency and asking for help from them, but this is for cyber insurance. This is actually a trend in insurance industry in general, but services like insurance is also about the crisis management or like solving catastrophes, not only like indemnifying the claims or costs you have occurred. And if the worst is over, then you need to get your money back also, what you have lost in case of cyber incident or data breach. These contain a lot of things, and I will go over these just in a bit. But I have a feeling, or it's not only my feeling, but statistics show that business income loss is the most crucial here, and the most what insurance business indemnifies comes under this coverage. Because, for instance, if you have a ransomware attack against your company, you can't operate fully or partially, and you will suffer. You don't have like money coming into your business, and you're losing a lot. Very often, it's even higher than ransomware. You're supposed to pay to criminals. So this exceeds is quite huge. But yeah, in general, this is about the crisis management cost, your own cost. This is like business income loss and restoration of IT systems and storing the data. Also, like financial things, like for instance, if you have had to pay ransomware, or you are a victim of cyber fraud, for instance, invoice fraud, and also like different parts, like from liability side, if your partners, for instance, suffered loss because you had malware in your systems and they couldn't operate, or even worse, if this malware spread it to their systems. And of course, regulatory proceedings and defense costs are also covered. Often civil fines also. Very often it comes down to GDPR fines or PCI fines, which are like payment processing industry specific fine. But if you're like speeding and get the ticket, when it's not obviously covered. So what about our insurances? This is like something that clients often ask, because they usually have property insurance, they often have liability insurance, business interruption insurance. These don't pick up usually cyber insurance claims. And if you closely read your terms and conditions, you can see that this is excluded. Here in our region, silent cyber, as we call it, is still actually in the terms, meaning that if you, if for instance, from cyber attack, there will be fire, for instance, and you lose your property, when this will be picked up from property damage policy, also business interruption. So, but yeah, cyber, if your business is interrupted because you have ransomware attack, then it's not covered by your property damage or business interruption insurance. Also, if we get asked if any kind of liability policy or professional indemnity policy covers cyber events, no, this is also excluded. So if you, for instance, if you from your system something bad starts and a client claims you, then it's not covered under these policies. Commercial crime policy, these are not very widespread here in our region also, but big companies and banks usually buy this line of insurance, and some cyber events actually are covered under this also, which are directly connected to computers. So this is half and half, let's say. Some things are covered because commercial crime is usually property insurance also. This covers money on your bank account, and if something happens in this way, when it's covered but not in breach or crisis management cost, any liability, this is not covered under commercial crime usually. It's very often nowadays that banks buy cyber insurance in addition to commercial crime also. Management liability, D&O insurance policy, these don't pick you up this kind of claims also, but we have to note that some policies respond if management has not filled cybersecurity measurements good enough, and management can be held liable for not taking care of such matters. So, but this is also, be careful, check what your policy says. Very often with D&O policies don't respond at all. And IT and technology insurance. This is also this is very specific product for technology companies only. So let's say that most of our companies use technology like us or DGS, but we are not technology companies, IT companies. So for IT companies, we have to buy separate insurance policy, but it can cover cyber events as first-party cost or loss also. Of course, if something happened due to your IT or technology partner, you can claim them. But for instance, for data breach, you are equally liable for. How does it work with cyber insurance? Usually it's triggered by data loss or breach. You probably note it. I hope that you don't notice it via Delphi or any newspaper online, and you can discover it by yourself. But anyhow, this triggers a policy, and you can contact your insurance partner at once. Especially for crisis management, because this is all about consulting, technology help, and so on, to help to end this process as fast as possible and give you the best advice. Because usually you need somebody to coach you during this breach. Secondly, it's usually discovery of cyber incident, criminal or non-criminal, which means very obvious, you get ransom demand on your screen, or you discover that your page is down due to DDoS attack, or it can be you find a virus in your system, or just discover from logs that somebody is in your systems also. So this can be very different things. And also, if you receive a claim from a third party, and these are also cases like supply chain attacks and so on, what can occur in our place and you don't notice at all. So there are basically three different angles where cyber insurance policy can start helping you. Insurable incidents usually are cyber attacks and different cybercrime incidents like invoice fraud, as I mentioned before, any kind of privacy and confidentiality breach, including intellectual property, like sabotage and such kind of events. Because this is not only like emails or customer information you have. You might have like one crucial email which that can leak and cause you a lot of trouble and financial loss. Also social engineering, like if something starts from phishing or like changing information on invoices, these are usually a core of cyber insurance. This is something which is like included to most insurance policies we have seen so far. But some insurance companies have gone further and they can cover human error also. This is, for instance, if you have systems or online platforms like Easy has, and there is some coding error, for instance, and the system doesn't work, then it's considered also incident and can be covered under cyber insurance policy. Technical failure, it can be something wrong with servers, for instance, fire in server room, for instance, and it destroys it. So it can also pick up such claims. But these are usually included for like some insurance policies, but not all of them. And all the claims I have currently described can be divided into like two parts. These are like first party loss. These are a cost your company directly has after or during the cyber attack, and there are like third party claims. Of course, this first party loss in cyber events, these are the largest ones usually. There are already like trend to third party claims, especially related to supply chain attacks. But yeah, let's see how far this gets. So far, we have seen that company usually suffers the most. First party loss is a cost insured company usually has to cover themselves, contain of like crisis management cost, which is like the most important in our opinion, because you need help at once. Usually there are like dedicated companies who come and help you. They basically have to respond in 1 or 2 or 3 hours, depending how serious the situation is. Of course, you can use like your own IT partners if you have, but very often we don't have like in-house IT partners in companies. And of course, they might not know how to deal with cyber incidents in this extent at all. So it's like always good idea to involve insurance at once. Usually this is without deductible, so this will be covered from the first penny for you. So it's and the reason is that you should involve insurance company at once, because you don't want to have this crisis going on for months or like undefined period of time. So this is all about this part. Data and systems restoration expenses. These have not been very big, but if you lose several servers, it can take a couple of weeks and a lot of money to move your data and get back in business. Business income loss. This is business interruption part I have mentioned. This usually brings a lot of loss if you are down like 3 weeks or even longer. Last ransomware attacks we have been involved as consultants have lasted partially like 3 to 4 weeks, for instance. So this is like quite a lot of time. you have to go back to Excel and Gmail maybe, and you can't operate fully. Also, cyber extortion threats. I have to mention that ransomware is also limited in some insurance policies because some countries have denied paying out ransom to criminals, and this is forbidden by law, so you can't do it. But with sub limits, I often see that something is covered. But if you have like ransomware attack, your main goal is not to pay out ransom to criminals, but to restore your activity. And sometimes it's like very fast and easy to do from offline systems and so on. You need help to do it, or you have to have like knowledge how to do it. And system failure and operator errors usually bring losses to yourself also. This is first-party loss also. Third-party claims are all usually cyber privacy liability, meaning that if you lose your client data, for instance, and they have some financially measurable losses, I don't know, they have to change their ID card or documents to this one, or even worse, they have to move, for instance. So you have to have some like means how to compensate this damage to them. Also, media liabilities is something very interesting, because I think we have so many media companies or bloggers and so on who can not like intentionally, but for instance, you can give like false information or not so good information out in media or in your blog or your web page, or even like printed documents that can cause some troubles for you, and you can be sued. Also, like civil fines and penalties, GDPR, PCI fines are very often covered, but not always. So check your insurance policy very carefully. And any kind of proceedings and defense costs related to it, because if like information authorities come to your company and start some investigation, it will bring you a cost. You would want to have your lawyer involved, for instance, and so on. This will be also covered with cyber insurance policy. So I have some case studies also, but as you can see, I don't have so much time to go over, but let's see them like very fast. I'm going the same team as Jonas had, construction company. So head office of construction company can be attacked by malware. And we have seen loss above 1 million euros to restore these the systems, and the business interruption loss has been also significant. Construction sites can be like down if you are like very digitalized and you can't maybe control the crane systems. You need to hire somebody to finish this cost. Here, insurance company paid out 150,000 euros for IT experts. Cloud service providers you are using can be hacked, and your data could be stolen. We have seen claims as like near €1 million paid out for damages because you couldn't like work or perform. Contractor itself can have like on-site business interruption if the cloud service is not accessible, for instance, and works cannot be completed on time. So we have seen loss of 300,000 paid out. So bidding process can be can have like problems and so on. We can basically continue like very simple thing that one email was sent to wrong person and it started the investigation in a company. This is like GDPR related event. Are there some exclusions? Of course there are. we can't get the insurance without exclusions. Of course, lack of security measures can be a reason insurance company will not pay out you with damages. There are like several other things. I will not read these all here, but there are usually one small thing you can notice in terms and conditions. However, this does not apply to, and this means that if this is directly related to data breach or cyber event, this is not like 100% excluded from a coverage. For instance, if breach of professional duty was related to cyber event, then it still can be picked up with this insurance policy. Or let's say war is not also like 100%, but if we say that war, cyber war, cyber war usually in media means like every kind of things our friendly neighbor sends to us, but this is not cyber war. The thing what is happening in Ukraine currently, this can be considered as cyber war because there is also like physical war. So read carefully and see how some things are like connected, and there are not so many exclusions actually. I think I don't spend much time on minimum security standards, what the insurance companies expect from you, but there are some. And if you start to buy insurance, then you will see how is questions actually lead to these security measures also. If you have like some effective monitoring detecting systems in place, if you have like two-step authentication measures in place and so on. These are like must-have. This is not much you have to do to get the insurance, but still you have to have something in place, let's say in general. I think in Estonia, this two-step authentication has been the most like negotiated thing, because many companies don't use them or don't apply these, even if this is like for free and very easy to implement. So don't hesitate to do it. And of course, like you have to respond if you have like something already going on. You have to have a plan how your business will go on, and what you do afterwards if this reverse is already over, this panic moment is over. And of course, we can come back to employees. So regular and mandatory awareness trainings, these are like must have in every company. You know, the person is the biggest link. 90 to 95% of these cyber attacks start from a human being. So this is not so complicated to keep in mind when being like cyber aware. And in summary, we live in digital world, so we have cyber exposure. Maybe only some companies don't have it if they have only one person living in a woods, but usually we all do have cyber exposure. Cyber insurance is combination of crisis management and balance sheet protection. As I told you before, I refer to crisis management is very important, so you know how to act correctly when something happens. And cyber awareness and risk mitigation are part of good corporate governance nowadays. If you take any ESG instruction or manuals, you can see that cyber and cyber insurance itself is included very often. So this is very fast all from my part, and let's start with Q&A.
Thank you, Helen, for a very practical presentation. I think I got many of my questions answered. And thank you also, Jonas, for your presentation and for practical demonstration of how Cysmo tool works in practice. So let's start with a question for Jonas. Jonas, taking into account your very considerable experience, if you could recommend just one activity or measure that all companies should implement to improve cybersecurity, what would that be?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think you have to always take a look at the specifics of a company, but in general, I think it's basic steps to get a really clean cyber hygiene. So you will get your updates by time. You have to keep an eye on your systems that are running, and yeah, you have to just always think about you wouldn't leave your door open at home. So why should you let your IT systems open to an attacker? I think this is like the basic guidelines, and you always make sure when you leave the house that you lock the door. You should make sure that you will lock your IT systems in your company as well.
Exactly. Thank you. So Mindaugas will continue.
Yes, I know. Yes, thanks really, Jonas, for practical insights and demonstration of how the assessment is made. And it was really terrific. I mean, it's better to see than to hear. And it's always true like that. But you know, for me, it's interesting to find out what is the pricing. I mean, you apply for these kind of assessments. I mean, are they for? Obviously, they are not for free, right? But what kind of subscription based, or is it per assessment pricing? What is the price of this short, so-called cyber assessment?
Yeah, basically there are different kind of options, but I have to be honest, this is a service we only exclusively offer for cyber insurance companies and the brokers connected. So if you as a company would like to get a report like this, you have to go through your broker or cyber insurance company.
Okay, good. And then it's I mean, it's interesting. I mean, just what kind of resources, IT resources, right? Your, I mean, algorithms or your platform is scanning. Is it just the domain-based resources? And I mean, what kind of controls normally? I mean, you check. Is it a DNS server? Then, I mean, can you just name the basic, I mean, controls this assessment is checking? Obviously, it's not everything which is checked, right?
Yeah, exactly. This coming from the domain, you have that as an input, and then you kind of see how big the infrastructure is. Some companies have a really large infrastructure with a lot of systems. You can think about the systems where you can book your vacations. Sometimes you can access this from the outside. We are taking a look at this. We are taking a look at the mail service you're using, DNS service you're using, and then we try to create the view an attacker would get. And this could be really complex, and this could be also not that complex, depending on how the infrastructure of the company is being held.
Okay, but do we understand correctly that, I mean, your assessment tools are not accessing any internal data of the company, right? No personal data, no confidential data is being accessed, right?
Yeah, there's no clear data, like personal data processed. It's just from the outside, all the accessible data which you can see. Yeah.
Okay, but is this tool pinging, I mean, the ICP servers like resolver DNS and or authoritative DNS servers as well?
Yeah, so everything you can access from the outside, basically.
Okay, great. And the darknet, dark web, obviously, I saw that it's also pinged, right? The resources which are available on the dark web.
Yeah, we do take a look at the dark web if there is connected information about the company being published. Yeah.
Okay, but how then you go around if you find, for example, some data leaks, right, or data incidents, or even some private data dumped on the dark web? Do you only, I mean, the platform is only, I mean, recording this fact, or is it also that your platform is making some kind of copy of this data, or just the snapshot of what is found? Or I mean,
we just take a look if there is like a publication and it's
okay.
connected to a company, then we put that in our reports. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Because, well, it would be splendid or perfect to have a similar tool for not just for insurance clients. And obviously, because, well, from my own perspective, I know that many clients would like to have this kind of assessment made. Because one of the key things which we see a lot is that these kind of audits or assessments normally are not made. I mean, external, and this clear view of how the system is being looked from the outside is really missing in most of the cases. And as we say sometimes, the best way to understand what is the status of your company IT infrastructure is order the hacking, order the hacker, white hat hacker. Yeah. To make the hacking, and then you will get the clear picture. Okay, so I think obviously very interesting tool. And do we have any questions from the audience to Jonas or to his domain? I think not that much. So I think
perfect. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Bye.
Thanks, Jonas. Bye. Yes, so I think we may proceed with Helen because we know that she has a little bit more, at least a couple of minutes more than Jonas.
Okay, Helen, so thank you again for a very practical presentation. And I think cyber insurance could be useful for a lot of our clients. And let's start with addressing the elephant in the room. How costs of cybersecurity insurance policy are determined, and can a small or medium business afford such a policy?
Yeah, I think I have to say that it's like difficult to say a range of premiums because it depends on activity, on revenues, and so on. But some small companies, premiums start from like 1,000 or 2,000 euros, and compared to a property insurance or something they are paying for CEO's car insurances, this is almost like nothing. So most of our clients are small companies. Of course, the other end is like very large companies, banks, and so on. But for instance, I took out the last quote we made for one quite large production company with 40 million euros revenue in total for 1 million euro limit, which is like quite large sum if you see it from this side. This is like 10 to 15,000 euros per year. So it's and they pay like 6 digits for their property damage insurance. So to put it in a program, this is like a necessity already, I guess. So, but we're still negotiating with this company. So, but we are aware of the risk, and I know this is like new property insurance on the market.
Thank you, Helen. Just to quickly follow up on on your answer, what is your opinion? What is the reason why cybersecurity insurance haven't been so popular in at least in Latvia at the moment?
I think companies are too confident. They think that they will never be hacked or attacked. But actually, as we all already knew, they don't look for companies. They look for weak places or weak spots, vulnerabilities, and everyone can be attacked and suffer losses. We have had many calls from companies who have not had insurance, and they have heard from police or some other companies that there is such solution available. And what we can do, we just have to talk more about this solution and opportunities of buying it. And of course, what this Cysmo is all about is very useful tool before buying cyber insurance, and that's why we are promoting it, and we're quite lucky to have this solution in our list of services. So you can approach us anytime, and we can do it as separate service also. You don't have to buy even insurance but of course we recommend to do so.
Oh, this is very good to know. So I can see that Mindaugas has many questions, and he's waiting for his turn to ask them. So
maybe we do have, yes, maybe we do have from the listeners or audience, but I can't see. So I think I can start with mine, and we'll see if anybody joins or drops in. Yes, really, Helen, again, thank you for practical insights. And there are certain questions which we as lawyers do have from our practice and experience when dealing with the cyber risk insurance companies or brokers. And I mean, well, just a very practical question. I mean, just imagine that the company has successfully underwent the data incident, and the payout was exercised by the insurance company. Is it obviously it is considered, right, for the next year's insurance premium, but is it the factor which increases the risk profile, or is it neutral, or is it the factor which is more or less mitigating the future risks?
Yeah, it's so and so. Some insurance companies say that the best clients are the ones who have been attacked, actually.
Yes.
So because they already know what comes, what are the losses, and they have taken usually some measures to fix the things. But of course, if you are already like existing client and all the limit has been paid out, there will be some increase. But of course, we negotiate it as good as possible. But the effect on a premium would be the lowest possible. And of course, insurance companies also provide some like additional services to mitigate this risk, advice what to do, and so on. So this is actually more like complex or like a wider insurance coverage than usual or regular insurance policies we are used to see here in our region, like property damage liability insurance. This is something like very different.
Yeah. Okay. And I understood that more or less in order to have fully fledged insurance policy, right, or insurance protection, you need to have IT system audit or at least IT system assessment, just to be sure that there are no known vulnerabilities, right, which you should have known and you should have avoided, where, I mean, the mitigation systems, risk management systems, or security systems in place. But just imagine that the company has a IT system audit in place, and there are certain vulnerabilities shown, but exactly the incident has happened due to other vulnerabilities which were not identified, but afterwards those are identified. I mean, later, post-mortem. I mean, just theoretically, conceptually, how such cases are treated. Is it treated that, well, this is more or less something which should be covered, or it also depends?
It depends on the client, because it's very often I can see that the insurance companies say that fix it by this time, for instance, and they still insure this specific case also. But there are of course some insurance companies who are more cautious, and they don't insure this client at all, as this is voluntary insurance, and they can decide. So this is we have to take it case by case. For some clients, there are many insurance companies who would be interested covering this risk, but for some for instance, big infrastructure company with not so clear IT audit, it can be more difficult, but still we have managed to solve these things also.
Okay, and when it comes to the costs and reimbursement or compensation of the costs, I mean, for example, media costs, right? You have mentioned the media liability, but for example, obviously you need to pay more for freelancers, more for influencers, more for, I mean, marketing affiliates and so on, affiliating marketers. Are those costs typically in or out?
Usually in, because as I said, this is usually very packaged, and all is in. Of course, if some influencer has a problem every day with her Instagram page, then it can be a problem. But of course, this is something underwriters have to consider, and of course they check such things. And as you could see, this Cysmo also is one tool where insurance companies and us can like estimate what is your like media hotness, let's say, what's visible. Of course, they Google and they see how you are doing. So
Okay.
if it's like in a media that you have had like several incidents and you don't report to insurance companies, it can be a huge problem. But still, I think insurance companies who provide cyber insurance, they still want to have like clients in, and they overlook a lot of things right now. So it's like very good time to buy insurance actually.
But when it comes to the data incident management, I mean, from your experience, right, just from the top of the experience you have, I mean, how much and how deep you should coordinate and report to the insurance when managing the data incidents? I mean, again, it depends.
At once.
Yeah, I understand. But of course, at once. But how deep you need to coordinate each and every process activity? Because data management, I mean, incident management sometimes takes 6 months, sometimes 7 months. Sometimes even more. How deep you should coordinate the tactics and so on with the insurer?
Insurance company actually takes this role from the insured company, and they basically manage these incidents, and they say what kind of information they need, how deep they go. So at first they probably hire companies like DGS or like law firms to be as a breach coach, because very often this is about like legal advice. And of course, secondly, it's like IT or like IT help basically. So like technical things you need to proceed or to get you back on a feet. So these are like the two things I can see like are mostly used under insurance policies, like most valuable. Even if you discover that this incident was not related to like any cyber criminals at all, and it was just an unfortunate accident in a company, it still picks up this crisis management cost. So it doesn't depend on the coverage at all.
Okay, and well, also from the practice, I know that sometimes the clients ask me whether this is something which we need to report to the insurer. For example, I mean, we found out ourselves vulnerability, right? Or the bounty hackers, the white or gray hat hackers have identified, and we think and we believe that there is no data leak. We think that there is no data incident happened or occurred, at least so far as we know. But we ourselves, we know that this is the vulnerability, and we take care of it, and we think this is fine. Is it something which is better to report, or maybe to disguise and conceal that?
Always better to report and ask for help. Maybe they can like also like monitor your systems, like systems like Cysmo, for instance. So if it needs to be fixed, they say that please fix it. But of course, if you have an incident, please like report police, CERT, and all like authorities you need to report, and of course not last but least insurance company, so they can advise you if you didn't do something like didn't call to police, for instance. They will tell you that please do so. And of course insurance policy will help you with this vulnerability also, if it needs to be fixed or closed and you don't know how to approach this problem.
Okay, but typically, if you identified vulnerability, which costs actually to be closed, typically policy does not cover these things unless it is data incident, right?
Yes, sure. Yes, exactly. Because this is something you have to fix yourself and pay attention to. And the insurance is all about indemnification if something happens, except this crisis management, which can be like which picks up a bit different approach here.
But if this is self-reported thing, I mean, you can report to the Data Protection Authority this self-assessed vulnerability, and it's very easy actually to make this kind of report. Then it officially qualifies as incident, which may become.
Yeah, it may be, because it's like very often when you discover something and after 6 months maybe you have an incident. One client, for instance, knows that she clicked on a very bad link. She reported to us, the insurance company, to her own company, but nothing happens. But we're like monitoring, we're aware that something can happen, and insurance will pick it up if something happens from this single click she made like 6 months back, or like one year back. So yeah, reporting is good.
Yeah, reporting is good, but the question number one, and the top question actually for the insurance company, is whether you compensate ransomware payments.
Yeah, this is so and so. Where like in some countries it's allowed to do, but I see that there are limits already. So this is not full limit anymore. So, but yeah, this is like a last resort we want to do, and but still sometimes even insurance companies have to say that we pay and let's try this way. But this is the last thing they do, because they do like everything else in beforehand. Restoring from the backups, negotiating with criminals, and so on. This is also like included. But like special companies who are dedicated to negotiating with cyber criminals who demand ransom. So this will be used first. So yeah, we don't encourage paying out ransom anyway.
Yes, clear. So that's basically it, Arina. Maybe you can pick up some questions if there are from the audience, and if there are none, I think.
I think the question about covering ransom requests was asked from the audience, so you've covered that. From my side, I had only one more question, taking into account the whole geopolitical situation. Is the event of cyber war covered by cyber insurance?
Yes, because we are not currently in a war, for instance, but we read in the media that there like cyber war against Estonian media companies, governmental companies. This is not cyber war under most insurance policies, at least on those I have seen so far. But of course, there are like rumors going on with additional clauses, state-sponsored attacks, but yeah. Read carefully. Of course, we as a brokers, we have to tell you if it's not covered. So far, the policies we have given out cover still is state-sponsored attacks also, which is like very important in our region. Otherwise, there is like no meaning buying insurance policy at all. We have like some good neighbors, you know.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think that's it for today, folks and lads. I think we have answered all the questions received so far. And in any case, you will have our details and contact details from Helen and Jonas to feedback and follow up. Thanks for your attention, and hopefully you have received valuable information. Thanks, Helen, once again, and bye.
Bye.